Well, what's going on, everyone? My name is Lincolnite, and these are my top 5 things that I hate about my Kawasaki Z125. Now, just to clarify, this does not mean that I hate the bike by any means. This does not mean that I don't like the bike. It doesn't mean that it's a terrible bike and that I don't recommend it. This is just my list of little quirks and little small things about the bike that I wish was different. You know, just like slight little inconvenience things. So if you are looking at getting the bike, these are things that you will be dealing with. So the first thing on the list is the Z125 hard starting issue. This is what I'm talking about.
Alright, so it's a beautiful Saturday morning here in good old Lincoln, Nebraska. Let's say I want to take the bike for a ride here. So we crank it up. What? There we go.
So basically, anytime that the bike has been sitting for a little bit, essentially a cold start, the bike will not start first try. You basically have to, let it crank for a little bit. When you release the start button, the fuel pump will prime again, and usually after that second prime, it will start. And it's a common Z125 thing. There's been people who try to figure it out. There's some people that think it's the kickstand switch. I mean, really, nobody knows exactly why it does it, but, eventually it will start. Second item on the list is the key placement. I believe Kawasaki is really one of the only motorcycle companies that actually puts the key in the gas tank like this. Most other companies will have it somewhere on the handlebars, on like the triple trees, but Kawasaki decided to kind of put it in the gas tank. Now, there's a part of me that actually does think that's kind of cool. Like, it's different. It's not really something that you see on very many motorcycles, but the problem with that is that they didn't really leave much room around the key. So if you have any sort of a key ring or a key tag, it tends to get jammed in there. So anytime you try to put the key in and turn it, your key ring basically gets stuck, so you can't turn the key. And then also, if you have any gloves on or anything like that, it makes it really hard to actually get in there and physically turn the key. So sometimes, it doesn't seem like it'd be that big of a problem, but sometimes you're sitting there for about 10 seconds just trying to fuck around with the key, trying to get it in and get it turned to either start it or turn the bike off. Third item on the list is the fact that your dash does not show a turn signal indicator. Every motorcycle, I am confident to say every motorcycle, modern motorcycle, will have turn signal indicators on your dash so that you can see, oh hey, my left turn signal's on, or hey, I just turned on my right turn signal. This bike has absolutely no turn signal indicators on the dash. Now, fortunately for me, I have low profile aftermarket turn signals on the front fairing, so when I turn it on, I can see that my turn signal is flashing. But if you don't, if you just have the stock ones, just the ones that face forward, you don't know, you won't be able to tell if your turn signal is on. So if you go to hit your left turn signal, maybe you didn't press it all the way, and now it's not on. Well, you have no way to tell that it isn't on. Or if you leave your turn signals on, you can look down and see, oh shit, my right turn signal is still blinking, and I accidentally left it on, So if you don't have any low profile turn signals or aftermarket turn signals on your front fairing, you can't tell that your turn signal is on. I'll actually show you. I have to turn right up ahead here. So here, I just turned my right turn signal on, so you can see that it's actually blinking on the fairing, but if you look at the dash, there's nothing on to indicate that your turn signal's on. Fourth item on the list is the fuel gauge. Now, it is nice that it actually has a fuel gauge, because if you're not super big into motorcycles, you wouldn't know, but fuel gauges are actually a very rare thing for motorcycles. Most motorcycles do not have any sort of a fuel gauge. It will have a fuel light. so when you get low on gas, you'll have a low fuel light that turns on. But this bike actually does have a fuel gauge. It's right there next to the 4. It's those bars that go up. It's kind of a, I guess, almost useless fuel gauge, because I just filled up on Wednesday, and I've probably put maybe 50 miles. I'm not really sure how many miles I put on it, but basically I've been riding it every single day for the last 4 days, and it's still showing I have a full tank. But here's the catch though. Once that fuel gauge drops 1 bar, it goes quick. So it's not really a good representation of how much fuel you have. Because basically, if you do the math and you figure out how many miles it takes for me to go from a full tank to 1 bar less, I should probably be able to get about 600 miles to a tank on this thing. But that's not the case. Once that fuel bar drops 1, probably within 2 days, it's going to be completely empty. So yeah, it's cool that there's a fuel gauge. However, it's not a very strong or accurate representation of how much fuel you actually have. And the 5th and last item on the list is the lack of aftermarket parts for this thing. Now, if you have a Grom, you pretty much have every aftermarket part you could ever ask for. On these, you have some. So basically, if you're not a subscriber of this channel, my goal is to kind of turn this thing into a stunt bike. I've already got some stuff done to it, but you would be surprised at really the lack of aftermarket parts and how hard they are to find. So for instance, one big thing that I kind of want to look for, so before I bought this bike, it was looped, so the rear of the bike has some damage to it. One of the pieces that's damaged is the rear actual fairing tail piece. I cannot find any fairings for this bike. There are no aftermarket ones, and I cannot find an OEM tail piece. I can find OEM front plastics, but I cannot find any tail pieces. Crash cages are also a hard thing to find. I can find a few sub cages, but really overall aftermarket parts are kind of hard to find for this bike. There's not a huge support for them like there are for the Groms. So if you're wanting to do a lot of really custom things on this bike, you can find some parts, but it's not going to be a huge variety of them, and there's not going to be a lot of places that sell them. But guys, that's going to wrap it up for my top 5 things that I hate about the Z125. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Like I said, this does not mean I hate the bike. I love the bike to death, so if you're looking at getting one, I do recommend it. It is a really, really good bike. But if you enjoyed the video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel while you're at it. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you later.